All right, what's good? What's good, everybody? All right, so this topic is kind of like for religious people and shit like that. Religious people that like to follow, a book of laws or some form of holy book, not realizing that, that book was given to them by some type of council that got together and made some type of book of laws to follow an ideology on that particular land. This topic is going to specifically talk about, well, we're going to talk about the Middle East and shit like that, and specifically about that God or just that energy of writing itself, because people started to use that energy of writing, the energy of logic, to just kind of like justify themselves about why they should do something and shit like that, right? And we're gonna get into it because a lot of the times when you talk to a Christian, you talk to a Muslim, they're always gonna pull out a scripture before they to prove to you why something is justified in their ideology or whatever like that, right? But a lot of these things are just lost through interpretation. Even like the word God, heaven, hell, all these things, a lot of times are lost through interpretation and stuff like that, right? But without further ado, man, we're gonna get into this, right? Because I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was kind of writing it down at work and stuff like that, right? So this is basically what I was thinking. In the Middle East, believers follow the word of God, right? Why can't people in the Middle East help themselves, right? Because you constantly see people in the Middle East begging, asking for help, praying to God, God help me. It's kind of like a very vulnerable person that believes like they can't do anything about their situation, so they don't do anything about the problem. So they let the problem accumulate, but they don't do anything about it. So they need some type of like Messiah figure, some type of like prophet figure, some type of like holy figure to kind of like save them from their own issues. But it's really interesting because if a person just believed in themselves, a person would go ahead and proceed and solve their own problems, right? But a religion take that away from you and make you less of a problem solver. I'm not saying that Middle Easterns don't solve problems. What I'm saying is in some areas, particularly when it comes to theology and spirituality, they don't like to solve their own problems in that area as far as like, why do they have someone else's point of view? Why can't they come up with their own point of view? And if you're religious, chances are you probably know what that lead to. You know what I'm saying? The Middle East, shit, ain't nothing going on there but warfare. Oh, you ain't no Christian. Oh shit, take this Muslim sword. Oh, you ain't no Muslim, here, take this Christian sword. Back in the day. Now it's a little bit better. Blah blah. Because the government likes to practice witchcraft on people, make people think, oh, this is the enemy, that's the enemy. And it's like all like just stupid shit basically, where we all sacrifice our lives for some retarded ideology that at the end of the day don't really benefit us. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that they tell you you're gonna benefit is, oh, you're gonna go to heaven when you die. Yet niggas, they never seen heaven, they never seen an angel, they never seen these things, but they literally believe what they're being told because they're just being, quote unquote, psychologically conditioned to, believe it. Because ain't no child getting on their knees praying 5 times a day. Ain't no child going to the church looking for Jesus Christ. Like, you have to be trained, psychologically conditioned, thought through the reptilian, the left brain, repetitively again and again and again, for you to even actually think that way, to have that frame of mind. Because children are just free and wild. They don't really give a fuck about none of that. So that means it's an indoctrination, because you got to be in that doctrine for you to even like, what's it called? You got to be indoctrinated in such a way. Like, you're following a doctrine. If you're reading a book, you have a book of laws, it's an ideology, you're following a doctrine. Go to China. The Communist Party of China has an ideology. I guarantee you they have some type of book of laws about what's right, about what's wrong. And if you don't follow that book of laws, if you don't follow that ideology, you're going to get punished, because they're the people controlling that land. So look at every religion like that's just the theology. The religion is one of the arms of the government that run that land, and the resources being the people, right? Because you need to be a believer for their witchcraft, for their magic to work. You need to be a believer and stuff like that. So the resources being your flesh and blood, your mind, and you giving your thoughts and feelings and your creativity and your building abilities and shit like that to that religion, and getting you and harnessing that resource on that land by telling you, hey, we're the government, we're coming to help you, but in exchange, you got to believe in this, or, we might have to wipe you out type shit. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all governments do, just practice like ethnic cleansing and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Now, all right, let me get into this, right? So in the Middle East, believers believe, or just in general anywhere, believers follow the word of God, right? Why can't people in the Middle East help themselves? Because they are stuck in literally a 2,000 year-old spell, and that spell was casted by a council, by a government, to make them believers. But believers in what? Like, you can believe in anything you want to. Some motherfuckers believe that they lack abundance, and some motherfuckers believe in abundance, and they clearly produce two different results. So it's like, what's a believer? Like a Muslim will sit here tell me, oh, I'm a believer, but a believer in what? A Christian will tell me I believe in Jesus, but that's literally just that Christianity is a brand that a person, Islam is a brand that a person follows. It's literally just an ideology that a person believes in. So when someone tells you they're a believer, what do you really believe in? A fucking book of laws that tell you how to live your life? Hell no, none of that shit. All that shit is garbage, you know what I'm saying? Because if you can't come up with that shit on your own, if you can't observe that shit on your own, which you can, but they literally casted that spell on you for you to believe it. And it's like, people literally read these books and like lose the context of these things, because all these things is esoteric. It's not talking about like, you know, Jesus Christ is gonna come back and save you. It's talking about like some other shit. It's not that. Jesus is just the Son. They're just talking about making a theology about the Son type shit. So these are literally Son worship books. These are people worshiping the Son, making theologies, worldviews about the spaces and the energies, and understanding what these things are backed by, and seasons and shit like that, and making a written word about it, a book of laws about these things. But when you don't know where these things is coming from, that's when you get lost into glorifying these things, making these things holy, making these things like way more than what it is. That's when you get into the holy, 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 holy. It ain't that holy, bro. It's just a human coming up with shit on their mind, and that's what we're gonna get into, right? So a council and a government creates believers, but believers in what, right? When someone follows a God, most of the time they are just following another man's mind. Because for you to even have that book of laws, a man's mind has to be a filter to reflect that information from a light density perspective, observation and shit like that, into some form of logic, to put it into a book for you to even what's it called, understand it or receive it and stuff like that. So you gotta understand, like, just like how you have thoughts and feelings on your mind, which are just light spectrums and stuff like that, like a person that you're following, that you're calling a prophet, is just a person that's receiving light spectrums on their mind. Like, you got that same ability too, but you just give it away to a religion because you are a believer. So it's like people that are believers, and from a religious perspective, they don't really know what it is that they really believe in. They just kind of like call it God, but it's really just an ideology that a man mind brought to them. Like, you got a mind. There ain't nothing someone else got that you don't got access to. Don't let anyone lie to you and shit like that. So you got access to anything that these so-called prophets, Jews, Masons, Jesuits tell you they got, but you got that shit too. So don't let nobody tell you that you don't got it. And we're gonna get into the reason why people stay in these energies and shit like that, because it's really just a form of self-delusion, because people actually got insecurities and basically they don't know how to change, and so that means they fell from grace and shit like that, so they can no longer move on from that insecurity and, you know, actually turn it into a security, where a person can be afraid of something, but if they don't go into that unknown, they don't deal with that fear, they're not gonna necessarily be enlightened about it. They're not gonna shed light on that awareness and be like, oh shit, I was afraid of this, I was insecure about this, but now I get it. Now I was willing to face my fear, aka face your demon. That's why they make up demons and Christianity and jinn and Islam and blah blah, and it's all pointing to different things and shit like that. So it's like, you really gotta keep in mind, like, all these things, even like Japanese mythology, Chinese mythology, they're all just talking about energies at the end. They're all talking about spaces that the sun traveled through, and that space give you access to a certain energy, and it makes some changes happen on Earth, and like the atmosphere is affected. So when you understand what's going on, you way ahead of everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's why they come up with energies like, oh, they must be the elite group. Like, look at every government today, right? Same shit that's happening today is the same shit that's happening yesterday and stuff like that, right? It's like certain people come up with thoughts and feelings about, okay, if I can do this, and the rest of these humans or people can do this, blah blah blah, this must mean I'm receiving some type of like enlightenment or some type of word from God and stuff like that. And then they start to come up with this elite type of energy, and they start to feel like, oh, they're better than everybody. So they start to feel like, okay, yeah, you know what, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, blah blah, and shit like that. Just look at what's happening today. You got people in positions of power that are elites that are running shit that honestly believe they are better than you type shit. So it's like, same thing that's happening today is the same shit that was happening yesterday. It just has a different look. From a bronze age to an information age, it's the same shit happening, just through different mediums. Now the battle to train your mind and to kind of trap your soul is taking shape and form through technologies and shit like that. Where the new God is basically technology. Because what is it about? It's about giving your attention. Because what is your attention? A form of energy. So when you give your attention to like these computers, which ain't anything wrong with it, you're supposed to use these things. But at some point, people like, look, when a motherfucker is like scrolling through TikTok and Instagram, and they constantly feeding themselves dopamine, they're making themselves feel good. It's like a comfort zone for them, where they literally feel comfortable within that zone, where it's like, oh, okay, you know, I don't gotta do something uncomfortable. This makes me feel comfortable. So when the Quran came, when the Bible came, and all these things, it just started making people feel comfortable and shit like that, where someone else created comfort for you, gave you a cake, but a person doesn't know how to make their own cake. And how a person made their own cake is actually by being uncomfortable, which leads to growth and shit like that. That's what I'm saying. So the battle just changed. So yeah, these religions still hold power, but the new God right now is technology and shit like that. So that's gonna be the new God and shit like that. And it's not like a God, it's just like an aspect. It's like Aquarius type shit. Like, it's like that. That's why we're in this like transgenderism type age where, but like I said, the same thing happening now is the same shit that was happening then, just through a different age and stuff like that, right? So when you study astrology, you start to be able to track down the different ages and shit, and you start to be able to see, okay, oh, this is what was happening at this time, oh, this is what's happening at this time, oh, this was happening at this time, because you start to understand the transitions, the transits of energies that we're going through and stuff like that, right? So now we're in this like so-called Aquarius age, where it's this like transgenderism age and stuff like that, but it's really, transgenderism is really mental and stuff like that. That's why they show you the statue of the Baphomet, blah blah blah, because like they're trying to make this shit look bad, but it's all really internal. You're supposed to do this shit within, like your left brain, your atom, your logic, practicality is supposed to mix together with your Eve and your right brain to get a holistic thinking. Now that Adam and Eve shit, that's like some other shit, but like, you know, yeah, I don't want to get too into that. That might be like another video and shit like that. But yeah, that wasn't even the point of this video. Anyways, yeah, so when someone follows a god, most of the time they are just following another man's mind, right? You see people following a government today, they're just following other people's minds. Because why? They believe they're superior, better than them, or they're getting oppressed in some type of way, shape, and form, creating some type of slavery that can be justified and stuff like that, so that people can agree. Because you see people being doing things like that don't really make sense, as far as like the hours we put in at work and stuff like that, but we're agreeing to these terms and conditions because we are believers in something. So to create reality, for us to be on this current timeline, this paradigm, we have to literally believe in some shit. So it's like we believe in something, and that's what got us all here. And it goes deeper than that, because it goes from the spirit realm to believing in some spirit in the spirit realm, to in the 6D, and then coming down into 3D, and that's all agreeing like, yeah, let's create this shit together. Like this parasitical conception, because it's not an immaculate conception, it's a parasitical conception. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so they believe in someone else's mind other than their own mind, so they literally need someone else's logic to get lost in, not realizing it's all just for a desire. Because look, at the end of the day, like, a lot of the times when people are following this Abrahamic spirit, they literally think at some point they're going to be able to do that desire too. And that started to get into like a lot of problems, where people start to believe like, okay, yeah, you know, if I follow Islam or whatever like that, eventually I'm gonna be able to have my desire too, stuff like that, or like the Abrahamic religion in general. But since we all followed that spirit down here, that Abrahamic spirit, or since those like Berber tribes started like carrying out that duty and obligation, like, you know, and shit like that, and people started following that mind shit, whether it be like on some spiritual shit or whether it be on like some third dimensional shit, because like sixth dimensionally, we just supposedly we're just inside some type of fucking snake. And I don't even want to get into this information and shit like that. I'm supposed to be sticking to my damn topic and shit. But like, I just want to explain it as clearly as possible and shit. And yeah, so it's like six-dimensionally, we're inside of some like very low animalistic, six-dimensional creature and stuff like that. So the minds, the thoughts and feelings, mentalities we come up with is gonna be some like animalistic creatures, thoughts and feelings like that and stuff like that, right? So it's like, when we started following those Abrahamic religions, a lot of people thought that they're going to be able to have these desires eventually too. A lot of these things just be like sex slaves and, slavery in general and blah, blah, blah and all types of shit. So it's just a man sitting back and like justifying these things to themselves as to why indulging in these animalistic natures makes sense. Because like, don't no real man has time for like multiple women. Like a real man doesn't actually have time for like 5, 10, 20, 30 women. Like that's just a man lost in their desire, lost in their root chakra, trying to overly experience that like gratification energy and stuff like that. But a real man is just too busy building shit. Cause like, now I'm saying that's what a real man is. So whatever these Jews and Masons was doing, they was getting lost in type of desire. And they started to use that justification, that logic, left brain energy to start to justify what's going on in the right brain, the root chakra energy and stuff like that. So they can make themselves appear more intelligent, but get back into that at the same time. But it's really just them, doing some low vibrational animalistic shit and making us think that it's some high vibrational shit just because they got a book of laws and a theology that we supposed to believe like, oh, this shit is like from God or something. But nah, this shit is not from God. This shit is from a man's mind. And whatever that man can observe, you better believe you can observe too. And you can come up with your own shit and stuff like that, And it might not even be a book of laws. It might look like a song. It might look like an album. It might look like a t-shirt. It might look like a pair of pants. You better believe it. God is a God of all possibilities, not a God of limited possibilities. Like, oh, I can only come to you through the Quran. I can only come to you through the Bible. I can only come to you through that book. Anyone that think God need to come to them through the book has a limited mind, doesn't understand that God has many different ways to come, and they literally believe in an ideology and a way of life, and it doesn't go further than that. And they do that, they carry out those obligations and duties just because of their insecurities. But if they just dealt with that insecurity and stuff like that, and the religious person might not know what I'm talking about exactly, but all religious people have some type of insecurity that they're not dealing with. If they just dealt with it, they wouldn't need that religion. Like a lot of it in Islam has to do with like arranged marriage and stuff like that, and being able to control a woman and tell that bitch to shut the fuck up and all that stuff. But you don't really need to do all that if you was actually charismatic yourself, because then they would come to you on their own. You don't have to go pillaging and doing shit, raping from fucking village to village if you actually was charismatic, because shit, they'd be fighting for you if you was charismatic. You wouldn't be going to them, in fact. It's like that, real shit, better believe it. So whatever they practicing is not making them this is what I'm saying. Whatever a religious person is practicing, it's not making them charismatic. It's actually making them unattractive and uncharismatic, because they actually believe in something negative. But that negativity is a hidden desire, a hidden ugly desire that they're not dealing with or removing from their aura field. So they start to come up with thoughts and feelings, or just thoughts in general, to justify constantly doing these things. So it's literally just the snake, Iblis, Shaitan, lying to them, literally. That's why even in the Islamic theology, they telling you, it's like when they told you, goddamn, the Shaitan was like, God told them, told this nigga back. I'm not gonna go to the spiritual meaning, but I'm just saying for the reference point. When God told this nigga Adam, or Shaitan, yo, bow down to Adam. This is one of my dopest creation right here, my boy. And Iblis was like, yo, I'm a misguide all of humanity. They wasn't talking about no external thing. They was talking about an internal nature you and I got. They was talking about that animalistic nature. That's what they meant by Iblis, the Shaitan, blah blah. Because it's like, man, it's crazy, bro. Cause because trust me, I'm around a lot of religious people, and I've grown up around religious people. So I was a religious person my damn self. So it's like I got to see how a lot of these people behave. I got to see that these people ain't who they say they are. So it's like a person just lie to themselves real good, And they go lie to you real good. Real shit. You ever heard of that energy of the bullshitter? Yeah, they gonna bullshit to you real good, real stuff. But you're gonna start to see the inconsistencies if you go to church and shit like that. You got your pastor driving a Range Rover and you're out here pulling up with a Toyota Corolla because you gave him your money and the pastor told you, yeah, don't worry about it, bruh. God will take care of it. But how come God didn't taking care of him? So he's doing a reverse psychology and shit like that. That's all it is. Real shit. That's why a lot of the times, right? When you go to the mosque, the church, they make you repeat a lot of these scriptures and shit, especially in the mosque, because that Islamic Quranic God is like a left brain linguistical reptilian god type shit where it's training you with words. The more you repeat a word, it's like a mantra and stuff like that. It starts to like affect your DNA, it starts to affect your mind, how you sequence your thoughts and feelings, how you perceive reality and stuff like that. Like for real. Like if a person really believes that this devils and demons about to come and get them, they will create that situation because you're a co-creator with reality. So if you believe that on your mind, you're gonna perceive that outside of you, and you're gonna create it because you believe in that shit. Like you see when people tell you like they see little green aliens and blah 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 shit like that. They literally believe in green little aliens, so their brain is gonna create a situation where they see a little green alien walking around type shit. So like it's literally just that. It's literally just believers. Like I'm a believer in the God. Yeah, none of these motherfuckers know what they believe in, yo. Like oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's like this, right? Let's repeat this. So that's why they make you repeat these scriptures from the Book of Laws. They are basically reptilians training you with force plus repetition. Now that force, you might look at it like it's righteous, but it's really just a form of manipulation and a form of like aggression without actual charisma, because it's like they might be ugly themselves, low-key and stuff like that, trying to get that desire. Whatever you call that prophet, that preacher you got at the church. You got all them bitches talking about, yeah, I love Pastor Ryan. Pastor Ryan look great, But shit, you don't think the bitch is trying to fuck Pastor Ryan the whole time? Talking about, yeah, I'm from the church. Yeah, I love Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know what you love. But that's the point. Believers literally give people this unnecessary elite energy, exalt them, call them master, start kissing their ass, and shit like that. That's literally unnecessary. Like, man, it's wild, bro. Like, it's wild, B. That's why I love this shit. I love this shit because it's like, damn, man, you really get to see how damned humanity became and stuff like that. But the average person ain't gonna realize it. They're just gonna be like, yeah, this is a part of life. I believe in this. This is my reality. Oh, this is my culture. It's not like our cultures came from a damn cult that cultivated the culture and gave that to us for us to live out as a narrative, as a script, and live out our reality like that. Like, literally, bro. Literally. So, yeah. Basically, when you need a book, a Quran, a Torah, it basically means that a person, it could be you, me, or anybody, it means basically that person fell from grace. They fell from the ability to let go. They fell from the ability to be able to change. And they literally picked one mental race, one mentality, and got stuck in that and didn't know how to change and stuff like that, right? So when you fall from grace, you fall from the ability to expand your awareness. You fall from the ability to expand the size of your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Through uncomfortability, through the unknown, all these energies that they sit back and take away from you. They tell you, nah, don't go to the unknown. Stay with this book. Make this book, this book is known. Because why? Anything known to us is a form of comfort. Like, when most people drive to work, they usually drive the same route because that route is familiar to them. So they're obviously going to cater and take that route to work. So it's like, when a person is having a book, they just cater to that book as a form of comfort because they don't want to, either they don't want to grow up, either they don't want to grow up, either they're just afraid of the unknown, or they're just afraid to go through some type of like death, and that death can just be like a new situation, a new circumstance. So they rather like stay in some type of like midget type mentality and let someone else play out that titan. And when I say titan, I mean like a man or a woman with a large mind that can create an intellectual property to encapsulate their spirit and trap them type shit. That's basically what I mean by that. So yeah, so you basically fall from grace and lack the ability to change. And so these people will sit back and justify with that logic why they should stay in that. So it's like if a person has an insecurity, they'll sit there, lie to themselves, and it's very below the subconscious detection level. I mean, the conscious detection level, meaning like a religious person will sit there justify something, why they need this book, why they need this ideology, why they need this book of life, and they're gonna sit back and justify these things to themselves, not realizing that they're just stuck in some type of like low animalistic desire, and they're justifying it with their left brain, creating logic, constructs, internal communications about why that's okay and stuff like that, right? That desire or low animalistic nature or barbaric nature that they want to indulge in and stuff like that, right? And that book of laws is going to be the legal justification about why that's okay. And since everyone on that landmass is agreeing to that way of life, no one is going to look at it like it's wrong. In fact, like, because look, people would rather not grow than grow up at the end of the day. So people can have some type of, what if people trying to go to heaven? I mean, heaven is like two different things, esoterically and religiously. Heaven, people want to go to heaven because it's a comfort zone, bro. That's about it. Like, esoterically speaking, heaven is just having the ability to be logical and practical and get yourself out of all of these internal, low animalistic or retarded feelings that a person might be in and stuff like that, right? So, and shit like that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, so, and we fought, basically, I already kind of went through this earlier and stuff like that, so I don't think we need to. Basically, all it is that religious, Abrahamic, Jesuit, Jewish spirit and shit like that, the moment a person started to come up with a script, they started to come up with ways on like, oh, okay, let's just justify this, blah, blah, because it's literally the air energy, the ability to communicate, share logic, information. For you to even hear these words, my thinking has to travel through the air. That's why that's that oxygen. When you breathe in, like you can't talk if you choke your lungs. You can't talk if you stop your lungs. So they let you know words travel through the air itself, right? So it's like they started to use that air energy, that logic, that like information, that logic, practicality, making sense out of that shit, and they started using that for like lower animalistic shit. And I'm not saying that everyone that uses logic is into lower animalistic natures. I'm just saying in this particular case of religious institutions where people participate in their religion, a lot of the times they use that shit for that lower animalistic shit. And trust me, like I live with the religious people every day. I get a front seat ticket to see how religious people think, and this shit is amazing, bro. I'm telling you, it's like. And I don't even like being around them and shit like that. But it's just like, yeah. At the end of the day, that's that. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I really wanted this video to be like 5-10 minutes, but I ended up talking about a bunch of other shit. But yeah, with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this content, and we're gonna see you. Peace.